welcome back to Storytime. I'm Miss Bridget from the South Butler Community Library. Today for Storytime, we are going to be talking about a new twist on old tales. So in our book and songs that we're going to be doing today, they might sound familiar, but something will be a little bit different about them. Let's get started with our hello song. Wave your hands. My hands say hello, my hands say hello. When I see all my friends, my hands say hello. Next, let's do our shoulders. Can you shrug your shoulders? My shoulders say hello, my shoulders say hello. When I see all my friends, my shoulders say hello. And last, let's try our fingers. Can you wiggle your fingers? My fingers say hello, my fingers say hello. When I see all my friends, my fingers say hello. Make sure you say hello to me in the comments. I'd love to say hi. Let me know who's watching. Let's stretch out and do some yoga. Ready? Arms up. Tall as a tree. Wide as a house. Thin as a pin. And small as a mouse. Let's do it again. Tall as a tree. Wide as a house. Thin as a pin. And small as a mouse. One last time. Stretch up really tall. Tall as a tree. Wide as a house. Thin as a pin. And small as a mouse. Next, let's try to do a twist on a song that everybody knows and loves. Do you know Old MacDonald Had a Farm? Let's try King MacDonald Had a Castle. And maybe there'll be some magical creatures in his castle. Should we give it a try? Remember, King MacDonald. Let's give it a try. Here we go. King MacDonald had a castle, E-I-E-I-O. And in his castle he had a dragon, E-I-E-I-O. With a roar, roar here and a roar, roar there. Here a roar, there a roar, everywhere a roar, roar. King MacDonald had a castle, E-I-E-I-O. How about next in his castle, maybe he has a unicorn. And the unicorn is going to say, nay! King MacDonald had a castle, E-I-E-I-O. And in his castle he had a unicorn, E-I-E-I-O. With a neigh, neigh here and a neigh, neigh there. Here a neigh, there a neigh, everywhere a neigh, neigh. King MacDonald had a castle, E-I-E-I-O. And maybe in his castle, maybe there's a moat that goes around his castle, water that goes around his castle, and maybe in his moat there's a mermaid, and the mermaid is going to go splash, splash. Ready? King MacDonald had a castle, E-I-E-I-O, and by his castle he had a mermaid, E-I-E-I-O, with a splash, splash here and a splash, splash there. Here a splash, there a splash, everywhere a splash, splash. King MacDonald had a castle, E-I-E-I-O. Last, let's do a fairy. King MacDonald is going to have a fairy, and she's going to go twinkle, 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 twinkle when she does her magic. Ready? King MacDonald had a castle, E-I-E-I-O. And in his castle he had a fairy, E-I-E-I-O. With a twinkle, twinkle here and a twinkle, twinkle there. Here a twinkle, there a twinkle, everywhere a twinkle, twinkle. King MacDonald had a castle, E-I-E-I-O. That was fun to sing a song that we know in a different way, wasn't it? The story I have for you today is called a fractured fairy tale, or sometimes they call it a twisted fairy tale. It might sound like a book that you know, The Three Little Pigs, but the characters are different in it. and I think you're going to enjoy this one. It's called The Three Little Fish and the Big Bad Shark. Now, in The Three Little Pigs, there's a big bad wolf, isn't there? But in our story today, we have a big bad shark. And this story is by Ken Geist and Julia Gorton. The Three Little Fish and the Big Bad Shark. Once upon a time, there lived a mama fish and her three little fish, Jim, Tim, and Kim. It is now time, said the mama, for each of you to make a home in the deep blue sea. So off they went. The first little fish, named Jim, swam away and met a seahorse playing in some seaweed. Can I have some of the seaweed so I can build a house? Take as much as you can carry, said the seahorse. Jim gathered the seaweed and made a weedy little house. Jim had just finished building his seaweed house when he heard the big, bad shark knocking at the door. Little fish, let me come in. The little fish trembled and replied, Not by the skin of my finny fin fin. Then I'll munch and I'll crunch and I'll smash your house in, roared the shark. So the big bad shark munched and he crunched and he ate up every bit of the seaweed house. And Jim swam away just in time. Soon Jim found his brother, Tim. Tim said, Don't worry, Jim. We fish stick together. You can help me build a sandy little house. Jim and Tim had just started to relax in the sandy little house when the big bad shark came knocking at the door. Little fish, let me come in. To which the brave little fish replied, Not by the skin of my finny fin fin. Then I'll munch and I'll crunch and I'll smash your house in, roared the shark. So the big bad shark munched and he crunched until he got a sandy mouthful and the house crumbled. Jim and Tim swam and swam until they reached their sister, Kim. Kim was setting up her house in an old wooden ship. The big bad shark destroyed our houses. Don't worry, you can live with me, said Kim. And they did. Do you think the ship is going to be stronger? Let's see. The three little fish had just finished lunch when they heard the big bad shark knocking at their door. Little fish, let me come in. To which the smart fish replied, Not by the skin of my finny fin fin. Then I'll munch and I'll crunch and I'll smash your house in, roared the shark. The big bad shark munched and he crunched, but he could not smash the house in. And all of his teeth fell out. The three little fish were safe at last. And look at the shark. Look what he has to eat now that he doesn't have any teeth. He has to eat seaweed. The end. Did you like that one? It did sound like the Three Little Pigs, didn't it? But there was a big bad shark instead. So when you see a king or a queen or a prince or a princess, what are they usually wearing on their head? A crown, that's right. Well, our next song is about a crown, but it doesn't go where it's supposed to go. So we're going to put our crown on different parts of our body. So if you have a crown at home, you can use one and do it with me, or you can point to the body parts, okay? All right, the first one we're going to do is on our foot. Now this one's a little tricky for Miss Bridget to do with this camera, so I'm going to try my best, okay? Here we go. It goes like this. There's a crown on my foot, on my foot. There's a crown on my foot, on my foot. It just won't stay put. Does it really go on my foot? There's a crown on my foot, on my foot. Whew! Does it go on your foot? No, a crown doesn't go on your foot. Next, we're going to try our knee. All right, here we go. Ready? There's a crown on my knee, on my knee. There's a crown on my knee, on my knee. Goodness gracious me, does it belong on my knee? There's a crown on my knee, on my knee. No, it doesn't belong on our knee, does it? Next, we're going to try our arm. There's a crown on my arm, on my arm. There's a crown on my arm, on my arm. It's not doing any harm, but does it really go on my arm? There's a crown on my arm, on my arm. Nope, that's not where it goes either, does it? Last, we're going to try on our head. Do you think that's right? Let's give it a try. There's a crown on my head, on my head. There's a crown on my head, on my head. Did you hear what I said? I think it goes up here instead. There's a crown on my head, on my head. That looks much better, doesn't it? The crown's supposed to go on your head.
Today we're going to make fairy dough. You have glitter in your craft kits that you picked up from the library, but you will also need cornstarch and hair conditioner. The cheap kind is fine to use. Also some food coloring if you want to make it a different color. The first ingredient for our fairy dough is 1 cup of hair conditioner. If you want to make your fairy dough a different color, now's the time to add your food coloring. I'm going to make mine blue. Now we will add about 2 cups of cornstarch. Keep stirring until it all comes together. If you need to, you can add some more cornstarch if it is too thin. Every hair conditioner is different, so you'll have to play around with the consistency. Pour out the mixture onto your surface and knead it until it all comes together. And here's a pro tip. Take off your rings before you do this part. Now I'm going to make my fairy dough sparkly by adding glitter. I will add a little bit and then knead it, and then add some more and knead it again until I find the right amount of glitter for my fairy dough. Here's our finished fairy dough. It's a lot of fun to play with, and there's many things you can do with it. You can spread it out, you can practice making balls with it, you can make snakes with it. You can also use cookie cutters and cut out shapes. If you make some fairy dough, can you show me a picture of what you make with it in the comments below? I'd love to see.
I really enjoyed our story time today, especially the book about the big bad shark. I hope you'll join me next week when we talk about superheroes. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's wave our hands and sing our goodbye song. Ready? Now it's time to say goodbye, say goodbye, say goodbye. Now it's time to say goodbye. I'll see you next week. Bye everyone. I'll see you next week.